Welcome to Ruger Tech Tips. We're going to reassemble our Ruger pistol caliber carbine. Before we begin, I want to make sure that I have no live ammo in any of the magazines with the rifle, that there is no ammo in the rifle or in my work area. All I need for tools are just a soft-faced hammer. You will need a torque wrench set to 65 inch-pounds of torque, a 5/32 Allen wrench, a small punch, and of course a good pair of safety glasses. To begin with, I'm going to build up my bolt assembly and get that together. We're going to do this in kind of stages. So in my bolt assembly, there's a dead blow weight, which this is the weight for the blowback type action, and there's a hole that goes through that where our firing pin runs. Now it's possible to orient this either way. It only works one way. So you can see where the firing pin hole goes through, and you're just going to line up the dead blow weight so that hole through that lines up inside of that. I have my firing pin assembly and the spring. The spring is non-directional, doesn't matter which way that goes in. And I'm going to put my firing pin through the bolt face here, and I want to make sure that goes nearly all the way in. There's just a very small point would be protruding from there. Again, the spring is non-directional, doesn't matter which way that goes in. Our bolt face here, this assembly, this is going to go in. There's a slightly scalloped out part, and that's going to line up with on the top here. And I'm just going to compress this back in far enough, and I hold that in tight. We have two retaining pins, and they just go in these holes. Just push those in nice and easy. And that's going to hold my firing pin assembly in there, my dead bolt weight. All of that is held in with those two pins. Next, we have our extractor, spring, and the retainer pin. And the spring, again, is non-directional. It is a fairly stiff spring. You'll see on the side of the bolt, that just sits in there like that. My extractor goes in, and I really need to compress that in good shape to line that hole up. And again, this pin goes in the same way the bolt retaining pins went in, and you're just going to push it in finger tight. You're good to go. Okay. Here's our charging handle, our bolt top assembly. This just sits in little tracks, slides into the rear, and it's just going to slide all the way forward. Sits like that with our recoil spring in here. Now, it's a little confusing because this is the top. The tendency is to want to put it down into the receiver in this direction. It does not work that way. We have to rotate this over. Our receiver's upside down, and we're just going to compress this down inside our receiver. You have to compress the spring slightly to get it seated down in there, but it just sits down in place. Next, I have my trigger group, and there's two pins. Okay, these are non-directional. Doesn't matter if we mix those up. Those are just gonna put my trigger group up in place, and I'm gonna start my two pins. Sometimes they need a slight tap just to get those through. You want them flush on each side. You don't want them protruding. And my charging handle, okay, it's just a handle with a screw through that, and I'm going to screw this down in till it's snug. Now this screw goes into 65 inch-pounds of torque, so I'm just going to finger tight for now, and then just take a torque wrench. Now this is set for 65 inch-pounds of torque, just till that clicks off. I'm going to take this whole assembly, and I'm going to drop it down inside my stock, and then I'm going to tighten these two screws down. And I'm just going to do these hand tight for now. These again are 65 inch-pounds of torque, same as our charging handle. All the screws are 5/32 Allen wrench and 65 inch-pounds of torque. So I'm going to torque both of these down to make sure they're properly set. Next, I'm going to do my barrel assembly and just going to put the fore end on. That just slides down into place. And again, I will do this just finger tight for now, and then set that to 65 inch-pounds once again. Torque that in place. I want to make sure that my bolt is to the rear, so I pull my charging handle back, engage my bolt stop. I'm going to install my barrel assembly lock that in place. Everything is built up. I want to make sure that it works. I'm just going to do a quick function check. My bolt charging handle, everything feels nice and smooth. Make sure I'm in the fire position, safe on. I can't fire. Push the safety off. Everything feels normal. Everything locks back. Congratulations, you've completely reassembled your Ruger pistol caliber carbine. Thanks for watching this Ruger Tech Tip.